Hey, hey. Welcome everybody to Miss Glow's Kitchen, where there's sugar, spice, and everything nice, where we slice, dice, and entice, using everything we can, from peppers to allspice. What's up, my people? Y'all know what time it is? See y'all in the kitchen. An easy and delicious pot roast is on our menu today. I'm about to show you how to make the easiest gravy ever, and you can make it as thick or as thin as you like it. All right, so come on with me in the kitchen and let's make this easy pot roast. And here's what we need to make it. I have a boneless chuck steak here, really thick one, but you can ask your butcher for a cut that is good for pot roast for you. But this is what I like. I love chuck roast. So it's a roast, and that's what you want to make sure you get. All right, so these are the ingredients. I'm going to list them in the description box down below because that is the seasonings, and this is minus the veggies. So I'm going to show you the veggies coming right up. All right. All right, so I just want to show you the veggies, but we're going to go into them later on. So we'll go into detail after we get the roast on the stove. Okay. All right, so here's what we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the liquid that the pot roast is going to cook down in. All right, so there are numerous ways you can cook this. So I'm going to show you my way, and you can take that. You can either use it or do it your way. You know what I say, your kitchen, your rules. All right, so I got a 6-quart Dutch oven here, so if that'll give you some idea. So I put as much water in here. You want to cover your roast, or at least almost cover it. All right, so if a little bit is sticking out on the top, then that's really okay. It's still going to steam and cook so long as you have a tight-fitting lid. So make sure you have that, a tight-fitting lid on your pot or your pan that you're going to use. All right, so I'm going to put a couple tablespoons. So I'm using onion bouillon here. That Better Than Bouillon, I love it. Instead of the bouillon cubes now, these are great. So I got the onion flavor. You can use the beef flavor. You can use the vegetable flavor. So a number of them will work here. All right, and if you don't have this Better Than Bouillon, then absolutely use your bouillon cubes. So you know it's 1 cube per cup, right? All right, so this one is like 1 teaspoon per cup. So I put 2 big tablespoons in here, and what I want to do is I'm going to come back and taste it. I don't want it too salty, so I'm going to salt the roast. You don't want to over season your dish. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to over salt it, because if you do, then it's going to be hard as heck to fix it. So you want to be really careful. So you can see right here, I got a little tasting spoon. I'm going to taste it and see what kind of flavor I get. If I like the flavor, I'm going to go with it. That's what you're going to do too. So you're going to season every step of the way, but you're darn sure you're going to taste it, and you're going to make sure you adjust those seasonings accordingly. All right, so I'm going to bring this, put a top on it, bring it to a boil. Now we're going to go to the roast. If you never made pot roast before, I'm going to tell you that this is so darn easy. It's so good. And I know when my mother used to make it, it just looked like it was so hard, like it was overwhelming. It was way too much. And then, you know, when I would eat it, it's just so good. All right, so I'm going to try to measure the oil in here just so you know. But if you have a pan big enough for your roast, of course you will. But you want to fill it like a third of the way from the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to fry this until it is nice and crispy on the outside. So we're going to put flour on the outside of this. Let me tell you right now, that flour is going to help thicken our gravy later on. That liquid in that pot over there, I'm going to show you how to turn that into gravy. So we're going to have the flavor of the pot roast already in there, plus the seasonings that we're using. And that's what's going to do it for us. So we're not going to have to add too many more seasonings toward the end. So you'll see once we get this roast in here, we started to cook it, and then we get the veggies. All right, so I've mixed my oils here. What I have is 2 cups of vegetable oil and 1 cup of corn oil. Corn oil is higher heat, so it'll cook this roast a little bit longer without making it burn. You know, vegetable oil is a little lighter, so that oil heats up and it gets really hot really quickly. So in order to slow it down a little bit, I put veggie and corn oil mixed. But you can use all corn oil if you want to. You can use all vegetable oil, but what you're going to have to do with it is you're going to have to deal with a medium to a medium-low heat. All right, so I'm going to put seasoned salt all over the roast, and we're going to put onion powder and garlic powder. Now, as you can see right here, I am sprinkling it on generously. All right, so that is why the bouillon, I didn't make that liquid over there too salty. All right, that is unseasoned meat tenderizer. So I always use that when I have a cut of meat, especially red meat, because that's going to help us get a really tender roast. All right, so as far as that, you have to stick holes in it and things like that. You don't have to do anything like that. All right, so when you get your roast and you want to season it on both sides. All right, so we're going to season it on both sides, then we're going to flour it, and then we're going to commence to frying it in that oil. All right, so yeah. So this step here, if you do not have a meat tenderizer, because that's what this is a meat tenderizer. If you don't have it, I'm telling you that the powder, the unseasoned meat tenderizer, it will work. So you don't necessarily have to do this. This is a little gadget that I just found in like a Ross's store or something like that, and I bought it, so I wanted to try it out. You do not necessarily need it, so I can't stress that enough. You do not. That meat tenderizer will do it by itself. All right, and I'm telling you, I'm sure of it. I'm positive. All right, so you got this. And hey, that's my sweetie texting me early. Texting me early on a Friday morning. That's so nice. All right. Anyway, back to the pot roast. All right, so we're going to generously do this side too. So, might I say it again? I know it sounds like I'm repeating, but be careful with that liquid in that pot. That when you put that bouillon in, your liquid is not super salty, because if you do it and then you generously season this roast with this seasoned salt, you are going to have a salty dish, and don't, because it's going to ruin it. It will ruin it for sure. So let me tell you. So that is a seasoned salt. If you want to use a table salt, that's perfectly fine, and you can. Now, if you don't have one of these little gadgets or something like that, pat this onto the meat. So take your dry hands and pat it into the meat, or rub it, your seasonings, into the meat, and you're fine. Trust me, it's going to cook all the way through there when it's cooking in that pot, and no worries. All right, so I'm telling you, if you want to stick it with a fork, you can. You don't have to. All right, I'm just showing you how to do it if you want to do it. So I'm not telling you to do it. All right. All right, after this, we are going to go directly into the flour part of it. Don't season the flour. Normally, if you're doing chicken or something like that, we'll season the meat and season the flour. Do not season the flour right here. I say season every step of the way with every dish I do, but this one, we're going to break the rules with it. Do not season that flour. If you do, I'm telling you that you're going to risk having a salty dish. Don't. Plain flour will do it. So between that liquid in the pot, that bouillon, and the seasonings on the pot roast itself, it's enough. All right, so the oil has been heating. So we're going to press this flour into it a little bit, or rub it in there a little bit. So get your roast completely coated in this flour, trust me. You will not have a flour coating, such as, you know how smothered chicken comes out. When you smother chicken, you put that flour on and you fry it, then you put it in the gravy, and you have that coating of flour on the chicken. Well, this is not going to do that. And the reason why I'm telling you is because we're going to boil it in that liquid over there. So after we fry it, I'm going to boil it in that liquid, and this flour is basically going to cook into that liquid, and it's going to make it thicken up a little bit. All right, but we're going to thicken it even more. So I'm going to show you how to make a slurry, and you're going to thicken that gravy even more. So you're going to leave it thin if you like it that way, but you're going to thicken the gravy up if you like a thicker gravy on your potatoes or your rice. So it just depends. All right, so I'm going to get this over into the pan. So let's go. All right, so here we go. The oil is hot. Now I'm going to show you how to test it. You can use a wooden spoon. And as you can see, if you see those bubbles around your spoon, then your oil is hot enough. I normally don't have to do that. So I've been cooking so long, I can figure it out. But if you have a meat thermometer, then you want to go at about 325, 350. That's fine. That's hot enough. All right, so you want to use that. But if you want to use the spoon method right here, it'll work. Now you see that's what we're looking for. Once you put your pot roast in there, you want it to bubble up like that in the oil. All right, so we're going to cook this. Not until it's done, but we're going to cook this about, I would say, about 10 minutes per side. All right, but you want to make sure it doesn't burn. So you don't have to turn this exactly once. You can turn this as many times as you like. Remember what I say, I repeat it again. Your kitchen, your rules. So you can turn your meat as many times as you like. But you do want to get a nice crispy coating on the outside of it, and that'll do it for us for sure. All right? All right, so let's go over to it after it's been cooking for a while. All right, so I flipped it now. Look at that crispy coating. It's not going to be on there. Trust me, it's not. Don't worry. This is what you want to do. You want to get that crispy coating on the outside. Now we're going to get the other side just like that. So 7 to 10 minutes more, but keep checking. Pick your meat up with your tongs if you have to and look at it. Do not burn your roast, okay? And don't get any dark spots on it because you want this to be really beautiful. You know, we eat with our eyes first, so presentation is everything. All right, so now as soon as the other side cooks like this side, we'll put it in the pot. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, so we're going to get this in. All right, and after it's been boiling for a while, check that out. So I'm going to turn that, but see where that flour is? It's cooking off there. So it's cooking off there into the liquid. So we're going to end up getting a nice gravy out of this, right? All right, so it's been cooking like 30 minutes. I'm going to pan back over it, let you see what it looks like after about 30 minutes. It's at a nice rolling boil. So what I have it here on a medium heat. Now, while you see those pieces of flour in there, believe me, those are going to cook down. Watch. All right. All right, so we're going into the preparation of our veggies. So we've got that down on a medium low, so closer to a lower setting on the stove. So what we're going to do now is we're going to prep our veggies so that we're ready to go with them. All right, so potatoes, and you can cut these potatoes as big or as small as you like. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing with them. I used red potatoes, but if you want to use a russet potato, I just find that red potatoes hold up. They hold their shape better down in the gravy. So like stews and anything with a soup or a liquid, those red potatoes hold up very well. Those russet potatoes are like super starchy, but if that's what you have, use that and it's absolutely fine. All right, so I'm going to use potatoes, onions. So I'm going to use a yellow onion. If you want to use a white onion, that's fine. I do not recommend red onions because just because of the way that they cook down, but if you're on a diet or that's all you eat is red onions, then it's absolutely fine to use. It's not my preference in this dish. All right, so I've rinsed these off. All that I had today was a can of carrots, so use what you have. I wanted pot roast. I forgot when I went to the store that I needed fresh carrots. So normally I would peel some carrots and cut them up, but unfortunately, I don't have, fresh carrots. However, when we get to the end of prepping these veggies, I'm going to show you how to prep your carrots if you have fresh carrots, all right? All right, so we're going to cut. So we got that celery. So again, potatoes, carrots, celery, onions, and I'm using some red peppers. If you want to use yellow, orange, green peppers, those are absolutely fine. Give it some color. Give your dish some color. All right, so presentation is everything. Trust me on that one. All right, so we're gonna cut our onions. I just want to give you some ideas. So if you're new to the kitchen, now you seasoned cooks out here, bear with me. There are people that are not as seasoned as you are, not as experienced as you are, okay? So I'm going to show you how to cut an onion. If you don't know how, I'm going to show you how I cut mine. I find this to be an easier method for me. Now, one thing, if you're a beginner in the kitchen, I want to let you know you have to make sure that you keep your knives sharpened, all right? And you peel your onions down to the layer where it's clean. So if you've got that second layer under there, it still has some of that like brown skin on it where it's been growing, like that. And if you have something ugly like that, take that off your onion. You can still use it, but you want to cut it off. Now, this is where I had like 2 onions that grew into each other or whatever, and I still want to use the onion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that part off, and I'm going to use my onion. How about that? All right. So we're gonna get this cut, and after we get this cut, the veggies will be ready. But you're gonna let your pot roast cook for at least another 30 to 40 minutes. It's not super tender yet, and that's what we want it super tender. We're gonna put these veggies down, and then the reason why we're gonna do that is because we want the flavors to get all up into those veggies too. Trust me, we do. This is so good. I love pot roast. Comfort food at its best, and we are already well into winter. So we are well into December. How about that? So I'm gonna put some white pepper and some thyme. So with the roast and the liquid, we've got all of those type of seasonings that we need. So the garlic powder, the onion powder, seasoned salt, we have that. So here, when I add this to the pot, I'm going to use some thyme and some white pepper, right? All right, fam, here we go. Prepping carrots. Now you want to make sure you have some wax paper, a plate, a cutting board, something underneath. And you want to wash these carrots thoroughly. So you do. I find that I can peel better when they are wet. That's for me. So, all right, so we're going to wash these as good as we can. And you're going to take your knife and you're going to put it on a slight angle. So not straight up and down, but on a really slight angle. And then what you're going to do is you're going to scrape your carrots until you get that dirty outer skin off. So if you notice right there, your carrot is already a much brighter orange. All right, a much brighter orange. So check that out. Take all of that off, and we're going to rinse it off after this. All right, so all the way as close to the top as you can. So I have a shredder right there. We're not going to use a shredder today because we're going to chop our carrots up for this pot roast. So, and that's generally what you need to know. Is wash your carrots, you're going to wet them, and so you're going to scrape them like this, and after you do that, you're going to cut that end off because you want everything in your dish to be beautiful, right? So you're going to cut that end off, that very tip, all right? And you're only going to cut your carrot up to the part where you have cleaned it. Trust me when I tell you that your carrots, they're much more vibrant orange in your dish, and they look delicious and tasty, but you will get a darker looking carrot if you do not scrape that outer skin off. So make sure you do this right here. And then what you want to do is you want to cut them into discs or into circles. So you don't want to split the carrot or anything. You just want to make sure, and you want to cut them as even as you can. All right, so that's that. All right, so our roast has been cooking like almost about 2 hours now. So we've got it on here boiling about 2 hours. So now we're going to put the veggies in. So take a look at it. Yep, it's still going to cook down some more. Trust me, it is. So it's not going to be looking. It's not going to be looking exactly like that. But however, at this point, we are going to put our veggies in and I'm going to let them soak up some of this goodness. Absolutely, yes. All right, thyme is a very strong herb. All right, so you are going to put about a half teaspoon in here. All right, don't overdo it with the thyme. Thyme will take your dish over, and I mean it. All you will taste is thyme. So you want to be really careful with it. You want to start off at a half teaspoon. Now, after you taste it later on, you can adjust and you can put about another half teaspoon if you prefer. So if you're a thyme lover, then you'll put a little bit more. You get what I'm saying? So, all right, about a half teaspoon. Yep. Bing. Good enough. All right, I'm going to put some white pepper. You're going to eyeball the white pepper, so it depends on how much you like pepper. All right, so about the same thing, about a half teaspoon of that white pepper. White pepper is a little stronger than black pepper. So you want to be really careful because you don't want to, if you're a pepper lover, then okay. Put it in there because it's going to make your dish really peppery if you understand what I'm saying. So white pepper can give you a little burn if you put too much of it. So you don't want to do that either. So start off that with a half teaspoon as well. All right, so I'm going to put the top back on this. I'm going to bring this back to a boil and I'm going to let it cook down some more. All right, so here we are. 30 to 40 minutes later. Now, normally I'm eyeballing this dish. I'm used to cooking it, but I'm trying to time it. So if you don't know how to make a pot roast, then I'm trying to give you some ideas of how long. So 30 to 45 minutes later, after our veggies are cooked down, we don't want to cook them into mush. We want them to be done, but we want them to hold their shape. So what you can do right here is you can take one of your potatoes out, because that's probably the thickest thing you're going to have in here. So you can take out one of the potatoes and one of the carrots, cut them in half. You can taste them, and if they are cooked as much as you would like them cooked, then you're going to do this. You're going to take your pot roast and your veggies, you're going to take them out of the pot, because this is the point where we're going to thicken this, gravy. All right, so I'm going to thicken this gravy. Or if you do not like really thick gravy, and there's a lot of people out here, they don't. I know you wouldn't call it a gravy if it's not thickened, really thick, but there's a lot of people out here that don't like really, really super thick gravy. So if you don't, you can leave your liquid like that. Trust me, it's flavored. You can put that over mashed potatoes or rice if you like it like that. But I don't. I like mine a little bit thicker. All right, so I'm going to take these out. All right. And what we're going to do after we take these out, now we're going to use a slurry. We're going to take a slurry and we're going to thicken it right now. So next step, we're going to bring this to a rolling boil. Now, once that a rolling boil, before you do that, you want to taste this. And here is the point where you will adjust your seasoning. So if you want to add more salt, more pepper, more thyme, garlic, onion powder, do that right here before you put the slurry in. Now, if you don't know how to make a slurry, then you can do equal amounts of cornstarch and water. If you want to use flour, that's fine. I prefer cornstarch. So if you don't have that, though, you use what you have. So you use flour, it's going to work just the same. No, it is not going to take the flavor out of your dish. It's not going to mess with it. So you don't have to do anything. You're going to stir this in, and trust me, you're going to have your same flavor. Trust me on that. And if you don't, then stop and taste it. And that's the only way to be sure about your dish. You're the one that's making it. It's your creation. Then you do it the way that you want to do it. All right, so check this out. All right, so we're going to put this slurry in. Check that out. So if you look at it right there, you can see that it's thickening up some. If you want to really, really thicken it, like even thicker than this, then you can add, let's say you half the water to cornstarch. So if you have 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, then you want to have 1 tablespoon of water. You get it? So if you have a whole cup of cornstarch, then you want to have a half cup water. So you're going to have a really thicker slurry. All right, so the thicker the slurry, it's going to help your gravy to get thicker. But take a look at this. Right before our very eyes, this gravy is thicker. Just like we like it, or just like I like it over my potatoes and my rice. All right? So don't come writing me about this gravy, because I'm telling you how to make it thicker if that's what you want. But take a look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Now, isn't that an easy and simple way to make gravy? All right? Not all crazy in the head if you've never made gravy before. Follow this, and you've made it now. How about that? Because to me, when you are a beginner cook, that's one of the hardest things to make, is a really good gravy. But I just showed you just how simple it can be. So that's what I like. I like simple and easy recipes. So don't make anything hard in the kitchen. You're supposed to be enjoying yourself. I love to cook, something I like to do. So I'm sure there are others out there just like me. So let's not make it hard in the kitchen. Let's not make it school. Doesn't have to be that, okay? It'll be easy and you can relax. You play your music, have a glass of wine, relax and cook. And trust me, when you do that and you relax and you're not in a hurry, your food tastes better. All right, so I'm going to let this boil some, and then I'm going to come back. All right, and I'm going to put in the meat and the veggies. But what you do want to do is you want to make sure you whisk this. The reason why I say that, because if you have, balls of flour or any pieces of that in there, what that whisk does is it's going to break all of that up, and you're going to get a very smooth gravy. So you'll see at the end when I pour this how smooth and beautiful that gravy really is. All right. So while your gravy is getting thick like that, you do not need to put a top on it. You can just let it boil just like that. Bring it to a rolling boil. So okay, we're going to put our veggies and our roast back in. All right, look at that. Look at that. See how slow that potato is sinking down? Yes, that's exactly what you want. Look at that look at that roast. You see that part hanging off? Yes. All right. Veggies back in. You can see that thyme on there. Oh, this is great. This is so good. Trust me, make this. You won't regret it. That is beautiful. Look at that. Gonna put that back in, and y'all, we have ourselves pot roast and gravy. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna let this cook down for like 30 minutes. Then I'm gonna come back and plate it. All right, here's what it looks like plated. So pile your roast on top of those potatoes. You can use rice if you want to. So you can put this on top of anything you want to put it on top of, all right? Look at those potatoes, carrots, that meat. All right, I sprinkled a bit of parsley on the top of it. All right, but look at that. We are ready to eat. Okay, and there's a close-up of our pot roast. Y'all better go make this. I'm telling y'all. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time. For more great recipes, tips, and ideas, check out some of my other videos.